Yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Miscast in the NBA. Today, we're going to be looking at John Collins. And I think John Collins is really interesting because the other players we've done, I've kind of wanted to see them more in like an expanded role, right? Like for Jalen Duran, he's being used as like a duck and center, an interior big. I like to see him a little bit more used as like a focal big, like a focal point of the offense. Same with like Denny, same with like Santi. But this is the first time I think that I'm interested in seeing John Collins in a reduced role, which is obviously what he's going to be when he goes to the Clippers, right? You're going to be playing off Harden, off Kawhi, even off Beal now at this point. So he's going to be put into a more reduced role, which if you look at this dashboard, there's a dashboard I built for any of the new viewers here, which is basically what role do they play this past season. So John Collins is used more like a focal big. This is like closer to like Jokic or like Sabonis, like ball in your hand a lot, playing through the elbows, playmaking. And he wasn't as good in this role, right? He was in the 77th percentile, but he's really good as a perimeter connector. These are more of like your glue guys, like your Derek Whites, do a little of everything, play off other creators, play off other primary creators. And I think that's a role that John Collins is going to be really, really good at in this upcoming season. So let's take a look at his like player dashboard. If I click in, just kind of exploring kind of what he looked like his points was trending up. He averaged 19 and 8. Pretty solid efficiency, 40% from three. I don't know if this is like going to be this high, but this is like really good signs, and the free throw percentage is really solid as well. So like I think he could be a really efficient player, especially playing off like a Kawhi, playing off like a Harden. And you have to be able to knock down threes in kind of that offense, right? Like if he's going to be in the corner, you have to be able to hit it, which I think he's shown that he has this affinity to be able to hit this. Last season was at a 40% clip, but just overall like pretty solid, right? So here are some of his advanced metrics. If you look at his assist percentage, it's just awful. Like he's not a good passer, he's not a good playmaker, and he never will be, which is also interesting because if I look at, let me go back to this. So go to Utah. As a short roll connector, he's not really that good, right? He's in the 57th percentile. It's like right around league average. But like watching the film, he's actually really good as a screener. He's just not going to be anywhere close to like the playmaker required to be one of the better short roll connectors, right? Like you have to be able to make a good pass out of the short roll when you're collapsing defenses, when you're playing 4-on-3, which he's not really that capable of doing. But like we're going to go through it in the film, but like as like a screener and like being able to quickly get off your screen and being able to attack off the screen, he's really strong, man. And I think that's going to look good when you're playing off someone like Harden and just being able to extend an offensive possession. So let's look at some of the usage stats. Again, like in terms of focal big, this is how he was categorized, but he was like not used. He's one of the lowest in this kind of offensive role, right? Like someone in this role has to be the lowest usage player. John Collins is kind of close to that, meaning that like he's barely being categorized as a focal big. Like he's obviously not the end-all be-all of this offense, right? He's not like the Jokic or the Sabonis of this offense, but he's closest to that role is why my algorithm categorizes him as that. He probably shouldn't be playing that role, right? Like he shouldn't be the focal point of your offense. And I think when you're slotting him next to Harden, next to Kawhi, next to Beal, it's going to look a lot more smooth, and it's going to look a lot more like his natural position where he was in the 95th percentile as a perimeter connector, right? And if you slot him back into that role, I think it's going to look really good for his offense as well. So I'm just kind of interested to see how he looks this upcoming season. If we kind of look at some of his play type distributions, he was really good as a pick and roll ball handler. Pretty solid in transition, pretty solid as a spot up, solid as a cutter. This is going to be something he's going to see a lot more, I think, just being like kind of that rim and transition too, but being kind of that like rim runner, lob threat. Like Zubac's not really like that. Zubac's more of like your focal big, like you got to play through him in the post. I'm kind of throwing the ball and let him go to work. So it'll be interesting to kind of give Harden this rim runner lob threat again and see how that develops. Pretty good in the isolation. I think he's going to get some of these looks, especially against like mismatches. Like I don't think they're going to play Collins a lot at the 5, but if you play him at the 5, Collins against the center should be a really good matchup for him. Offensive rebounds, one of the best. This is going to be really strong for him just because on a lot of those like short roll screens that we kind of just discussed, he's going to get a mismatch on him. He's going to get a small defender. So like a lot of chances for offensive rebounds and just finishing off that. And then this one is pretty low. I think this is going to look a lot better this upcoming season. When he was playing with Trae Young, he was pretty good as a roll man. And I kind of expect to see that as well when he's playing with Harden. So again, he's not used as a pick and roll ball handler at all. That's why like this is a little noisy. And then he has a ton of usage as an offensive rebounder, which he's gonna get a lot. Off ball screen, a ton of usage in Utah, and we'll break that down in the film. Probably not gonna get a ton of that with the Clippers. They don't run a lot of these off ball screens or handoff possessions. But again, we'll break that all down in the film as well. So that's kind of the data layout of John Collins. I am excited to see what he looks like in this new role. He was really, really good with the Hawks, especially during that playoff run, but hasn't really been as relevant also since he's been on the Jazz. But I think like he's gonna look pretty good this upcoming year, especially in a new offensive system. So with that being said, let's get into it. Let's get into the film. So let's first look at some of his off-ball stuff, right? Because that was his highest play type percentage. So here you're just gonna see this wide away. This wide away is basically you're setting a pin down or a wide screen for whoever's in the corner to kind of come up and get this ball. Person coming off this wide pin down is John Collins. So you're gonna see John Collins get the ball here. After Collins gets the ball, you're gonna see Keontae George re-screen. And the Jazz really like to do this, like off handoffs, off ball screens, like you just spin around and screen again. Or like whoever's doing the handoff go immediately into a screen, like just flip and screen. So you're going to see John Collins kind of come off the screen and then just being athletic, making an athletic move, good pass, and then finishing by Kessler. Right? And you kind of can see that in this Clippers offense, even though they don't do a lot of off-ball screens. Like this is a handoff, right? But the setup of this play is exactly the same as the last play. So if Collins is coming off the screen in kind of this Norm Powell role, he could kind of play off that if Dunn just comes back and then re-screens. That's the exact same play, right? Now, for the Clippers, with Norm Powell, they're going to go into a second side action. So they're going to get this ball back to Harden, and they're going to set a flare screen for Norm Powell. They're just sold really well, right? Like, you look at Zubac. You can see that Zubac looks like he's coming to set a screen up for Harden, but he's going to go immediately into a flare screen for Powell, right? Like, this is just a great play design. Powell comes off this, gets an easy three. You're not going to get this for John Collins, but you can play that strong side action to be kind of like that same play where Dunn just goes right into another screen and let Collins kind of play me. Again, you're not going to get a ton of these reps, but you can kind of see like within the course of an offensive possession that these things could happen. Here you're going to see an isolation possession. So there's one for flat. Then you're going to see John Collins come to set the screen, right? And then this is kind of what we talked about in the data portion with getting a small defender and then having an off-ball screen. When you have John Collins coming up to set a screen and then you're switching onto this isolation player or this pick and roll player, Keontae George gets a matchup he likes, presumably like a bigger defender, right? Which means that John Collins is going to have a small defender on him. With a small defender on him, great efficiency as an offensive rebounder, great offensive rebounder in general, and just being able to finish. So like, I can foresee that happening a lot with Harden. If we kind of look at some of the play types for the Clippers, just to kind of see like the type of offense they're running. So, actually, let's go to team profile. Clippers. So like they ran a lot of isolation. That's this orange bar. They were the number one isolation team. Not a lot of pick and rolls, right? You don't have a lot of these pick and roll reps or pick and roll man. I'm expecting Collins to get more of these possessions as a roll man. Sorry, here. So like if we look, it was basically like Zubac a little bit. Zubac posted up a lot more, right? That's why you're here in like the 73rd percentile. Look at Zubac, ton of post-up opportunities, right? And then obviously like look at how far they are isolation-wise compared to everyone else. So like a team that just likes to run a lot of isolation, you have one of the better isolation players. I'm gonna be expecting some more screening with Collins, also because Collins is really fast. Like if he's not doing anything, if he's not involved in a play, like if it's random offense, he'll be really fast and just like coming up and setting a screen, which is going to be the later half of kind of the film that we're talking about. But there's going to be a lot of like isolation plays for John Collins to just kind of run up and screen, which I'm just expecting the Clippers to run a little bit more. Here, transition opportunity for Collins. If the Clippers run more, they finally have like at least someone in their starting lineup to run a bit more. Like it's basically only Derek Jones that has kind of that transition lob threat. So just having John Collins will help in that sense. Same thing here, can just put the ball on the ground a little bit and then just like a strong transition player, right? So that's just going to be a new look that I think the Clippers are going to have. Again, they didn't run a ton of transition, I guess they were okay, 60th percentile. But it's none of their starting lineup, right? Like, yeah, it's Derrick Jones, like Kai Jones, Coffee. Like, no one in their starting lineup really runs that much. Like, Harden doesn't, Zubac doesn't, like one of the lower two. So just being able to speed up that starting lineup is going to be interesting to see with Collins in the starting lineup as well. I'm assuming Collins is going to be in the starting lineup, but I think that makes the most sense to me. Here, you're going to see John Collins get this ball in kind of this delay set, right? We talk about this delay set, which is just at the top of the key with Durant. With a lot of focal bigs, like they like to play out of either here at the top of the key or at the elbow. So here you're going to see John Collins gets it. Then he's just going to attack. Once he attacks, these are kind of like those isolation reps. You just have to be able to extend plays. So here's a cut by Williams, and it just finds Cody Williams on the backdoor cut. Collins is not a great playmaker. Like, he's just not that quick at finding the open man. But some of these simple reads you have to be able to make, especially when you're a player playing off of other primary creators, right? Like, you can imagine if you're attacking a closeout and then you get another defender to come up and like send the second defender to yourself, you have to be able to like dump off and make a pass to the next open man, right? And that's just in the scheme of like a free-flowing offense. Here is a play that the Clippers run a lot, but they run this for Zubac. I don't think they're going to run a lot for Collins, but this is a cross screen, which is just, you're seeing Sexton set this cross screen on Plumlee, which is just this screen to get Collins across the paint so that he can post up with pretty deep position. So here, Collins, here's a screen. You want the switch, right? You want Tyus Jones to switch off on Collins. It doesn't happen. It's a little bit lazy. And then here, Plumlee comes back. Now, if you have a center on you, if you're John Collins, you have to be able to exploit this. Like, if you have mismatches like this, and this is so important when you're playing off people who create mismatches, right? Like Harden, Kawhi, when they're drawing to, like when you're getting to attack advantage basketball, whether advantage is a man down or advantage is a better matchup, you have to be able to capitalize, right? So here you're gonna see Collins make a good move and then take a mid-range jumper. You don't love the shot, but like I feel pretty good with him attacking centers. Now, I don't know if they're going to play him at the 5 a lot with Brook Lopez as a backup. It'd be interesting if they're exploring small ball lineups with Collins at the 5, but for the most part, I don't think he's going to play the 5, also due to defensive liabilities, which we'll talk about kind of later on in the defensive section. But here's a really cool play from the Jazz, and I think I have like 3 of these of this play, 3 clips for this play. But here you see a handoff, right, with Clarkson and Lowry. And then while this handoff is happening, you see John Collins go up to set this rip screen. So this rip screen is basically a backdoor screen for Keontae George to try to get a really open layup, right? But here, Plumlee's going to sit in the paint to prevent this. So here you see Plumlee just prevent this cut from happening. Beal's going to fight over the screen, which leaves Collins wide open. Now, can you hit this? He does. He shot really well. Again, 40% three-point shooter. Shot well above the break again. Let's see what his above the break shooting was. So if we go back to his player profile, let's see what his above the break shooting was. It's like pretty good, right? Like in the, what is it, 70th percentile? It's pretty solid above the break 3-point shooter. So all things, again, when you're playing off good primary creators, you're going to have to be able to do. Just hit open shots. Here, same play, right? You have a handoff on the strong side, which is the bottom of your screen, and then you have the rip screen. But keep in mind, the timing for this play versus the last play is so different, right? John Collins is already going up to set this rip screen right now. And because he's going to set this rip screen before this handoff is happening, you can see Plumlee's head right now is focused on the handoff because that's the strong side action. That's where the ball is, right? So look at Plumlee as Sexton is going to give this handoff. He's concerned. He literally shifts over to kind of contain this handoff because that's where the strong side action is happening. Again, Beal's being screened on the weak side. And then after Beal's being screened, Keontae George is going to go out to the other sideline where Plumlee is still watching the strong side because that's happening simultaneously as John Collins is saying that rip screen. Plumlee has no time to get back to John Collins. Right? Like Plumlee's just so far out of this play now because he was focused on the strong side action of that handoff, whereas there was already a secondary action being run, which is just really cool stuff. If you get that timing of that play right, it's really difficult to stop. So here, this is more like playing off primary creators, right? Like once you have someone like Royce O'Neal here, there's going to be a closeout. Can you beat a closeout? Collins is like more than athletic enough to be putting the ball on the ground and just finishing off some of these plays. again, it's going to look a lot better playing off like strong primary creators that are going to give you more of an advantage. Whereas a lot of time on the Jazz, there's no advantage being created, right? Like, this isn't a closeout. There's just isolation. Can you win here? He has this mid-range. Do I want to see him take that a lot? Not really, but, like, it's going to look much easier when he's playing on the Clippers, right? So he's going to get this a lot. Corner 3. You're going to be open a lot when Harden's driving, drawing 2. When Kawhi's driving, drawing 2. Can you hit this corner 3? Shot well this year. Let's see kind of what his splits were. Corner 3, 70th percentile again from the right corner. A little bit worse, actually way worse on the left corner, 30th percentile. But generally, like, he's a pretty solid three-point shooter. Like, I think it's real, and like some of that stuff will look more. I mean, it'll be more open playing off Kawhi and Harden, so you assume that that percentage kind of stays there. And if he's shooting like 37 to 40%, that's really strong as a 4 off of Harden and off of Kawhi. Here, another off ball. This is just the same play. It's a wide pin as the first play, but on the opposite side. Right, so you're going to see John Collins come off this wide pin, and then he's going to knock at the ball here, but he's fast in terms of his decision-making to come up and set a screen. So we kind of discussed that earlier. Like, I think that's going to be a huge benefit for the Clippers. Like, how fast he goes into screening actions, how fast he, like, realizes, oh, this play isn't happening for the first thing that we drew up. Our plan A isn't happening. Let me go screen as a plan B. So here you're going to see him immediately go into a screen for Clarkson. And this is what he looks so clean as a screener, and especially going the short roll. Because when he screens, he like really extends his hands and like pushes. He's going to push Royce O'Neal here, and he look how much separation he gets like on this push. Right? It's like such a quick exit from the screen. And it's like a quick exit. If you throw it over the top right here, he's really open and can finish. Now we have plays where that's going to happen. Whereas here, there's going to be another offensive rebound, and then finishes. Right? But like that kind of screening action where like he's very quickly coming up. Here you're going to get Keontae George, or you're going to get a handoff here. Right? Handoff, and then he just quickly turns, quickly opens, and throw it over the top. And then he's just going to finish. Right? Just a really good finisher as well. But that's the advantage of having him be able to quickly exit screens. And he's just so fast at exiting a screen. So here, that play, I can see that happening. Like, this is what Coffee does here, where you're not really the primary action, but like when a play's breaking down, right? You get it, go immediately into a handoff or immediately into a screen. And this is basically the same exact play you just saw Collins, right? Quick exit. Here's a quick exit. And then find by Harden, and then finish. Right? Good pass. And also, like, Coffee was... So, like, let's see what Coffee was in the short roll. Again, if we look at John Collins... Collins was, like, a 57% short roller. But a lot of this, again, is from the playmaking. Like, I think he's a really good screener. And then if we look at Coffee... Right, like, Coffee is horrendous. Like, 5th percentile. Right? So, like, a lot of the Collins stuff... Like, actually, let's look at John Collins... Like, this year, he wasn't great as a pick and roll. Roll man, he's in the 63rd percentile. Like, what are some of his other years? Like, I default to Brunson. But let me go to Collins. Some of, like, the defaulting stuff I probably can clean up. I probably should clean up, honestly. Did I pass him? John Collins here. So, like, last year, yeah, like... really strong, right? 92nd percentile. What about like when he was playing with Trae Young? John Collins. Yeah, 69th percentile, pretty solid. And this is 21 was the Eastern Conference final season. So let's go to John Collins. Yeah, right, like 94th percentile. So like definitely a good roll man, just not great in the short roll because he's not a good passer. But if you're gonna be a play finisher off Harden, that's more than valuable. Here's an Iverson cut. We talked about this in the Santi video. So you're gonna see player just comes across the court with 2 screens, and after this, Collins is gonna go right into a screen again for Patty Mills. So right immediately into a rescreen. And look at how fast he is, right? He's gonna push off, and just get separation. And there's just so much space now. And just play. Great dunk. Good play finisher, right? Like, it's so easy to visualize that with Harden. Here's a ram screen. Ram screen is just a down screen before you go set another screen for the ball handler. Reason for this is a lot of teams like to blitz or like trap your primary ball handler. So you want to detach the defender of the screener away from the screener first before setting the screen, right? So here, Collins sets this. A lot of times, like, you'll flip the screen too, especially if you're being chased on the side that you're coming across the screen. But here, right into a screen, quick touch, and then finishes. Like, he doesn't really set that, he just goes to that screen. But it's just a really quick screener. And I think that's going to be really valuable for Harden. Here again, comes up, sets the screen, just extends his arms and just gives this like little shove, which just creates a lot of space for him on the roll. And then it just finishes. Okay, so like all of that I think is very translatable in terms of random offense when you're playing off like Harden, when you're playing off Kawhi. And then this is just, you have to be able to do this, right? You have to be able to attack closeouts, you have to be able to finish. And he's going to get a lot more of these looks. And they're going to be a lot more open. Or like not open, but you're going to see a lot more stronger closeouts because defenses are trying to recover from a different position. Right? So you just have to be able to finish these. Here's the same play. There's a rip screen. Timing's a little off here. Attack center. Doesn't get anything. Throws it out. It doesn't look that clean, right? Like his playmaking doesn't look that clean. Here, can you beat the center? Great push cross here, right? To beat the center. And just a little clunky. Doesn't finish. Finds the man. And then good assist. Not the best playmaker, but like just playing off. Playing against closeouts, playing against like mismatches. You have to be able to do. There's a good perimeter connector this year. I think he'll look great in that role. And that's going to be the role he has. He's going to get that role or like interior big, where he's just a duck in center or like a rim runner. But like even playing off Zubac, you're probably not going to be playing in that role as much. So I fully expect him to be kind of more in that like Derek White, like perimeter connector, like move the ball, pass the ball, attack closeouts, 0.5 offense, just making quick decisions. I think he'll be good in it. So let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Here, like great weak side defender, right? So here, good athleticism, gets the block. Like he's a good weak side defender, pretty solid instincts. Here's him in the pick and roll defense, like as a drop defender. He can't really play drop. So like let's start with like some good reps. Here, contains the ball, doesn't let Booker get the shot off, and then as this play develops, you're gonna see it goes to the other side. So first, attentive, right? He's following the screen. Plumlee's gonna run up to set the screen. He's following here, and then here is gonna be an ice, right? So that's Cody Williams. Icing is basically sending them to the sideline. So no matter where the screen is set, you want to angle to shade Booker to the sideline, and then John Collins is already on that side, right? So you're icing the screen here. So there's good coverage, recovers back, and then now Beal's going to attack this closeout. While Beal's attacking this closeout, John Collins is going to be weak side help. And then, again, good weak side defender, right? Great block, gets the ball. Now, we're going to get a backdoor screen here, right? So here's the screen. They're going to switch this. Collins is going to be on Booker. He should be a lot more switchable, just like the type of athlete he is, and like the ability to be laterally quick. I think like he moves pretty well, but he's just not able to guard some of these guards. Like you would expect he could, but he's just not really able to do that, which is going to be a huge detriment if he's not playing the 5. Like if he's playing the 4, you want him to be way more switchable, right? Now, this is why he's not that great in the screen cover, or actually this might be a good rep, right? So contains, gets back, like all the lateral motion is kind of there in the pick and roll specifically. I think it's like he's just not tall enough to cover this. So like even if he's in the right spots, like here in the right spots, like he's not tall enough to make this a difficult read for Beal. Like Beal's just gonna throw this right over the top. It's gonna be an easy dunk. Same thing on the next play. Like this is pretty good defensive coverage and drop, as in he's in the right spot. Right, like you're in the right spot here, and then right now you're about to recover back because now Keontae George is containing this ball handler, but like you're just not tall enough to make that a difficult pass. So like Collins playing the 5 is gonna be pretty difficult. I think he's gonna play a lot of 4, as he's playing the 4, you want him to be a little more switchable on the outside playing the 4. He's not really that switchable playing the 4. So it's going to be a little tough defensively. I think the offensive fit is going to be great. But playing this lineup with Harden, with Beal, with Collins, and then not sure what you're going to get out of Kawhi and a good defender in Zubac. I just don't really know what that's going to look like defensively for this team. But I'm excited for the offense. If you haven't been following the series for defensive purposes, I don't have any like metrics or dashboards for that, but there's a dashboard there's a metric that's already made for EPM, defensive EPM, which is a really good all-in-one metric, even though there's no perfect all-in-one metric. So I'm going to go quickly check what that looks like for John Collins. I'm expecting him to be like in the 30th percentile. I don't think he's a plus defender. And then, yeah, I'll see how close I am. Okay, so he ended up in the 50th percentile this year. In the last 2 years, he was in the 30th percentile and the 2nd percentile, so pretty bad defender. Looks like he picked it up this year a little bit. But I think like there are actual limitations to like him being a 4 defender and switching on some quicker guards, and also like limitations to him being kind of a big small ball 5 defender as well. But anyways, I'm still excited for what he looks like offensively with the Clippers. And yeah, we'll see what that team looks like, especially with the addition of Beal now.